been so long since I filmed a YouTube video. I just thought I'd set up a camera, do a little get ready with me. My glasses are dirty. Yeah, I'm just gonna do like some light makeup. I'm not going anywhere, just staying in the house today. Both girls are down for their nap. Evelyn is our new baby girl, or our second baby girl. She was born December, I keep on saying December. She was born November 19th. Her due date was the 17th, but she came on the 19th. And actually, while I do my makeup, I kind of want to share her birth story. I filmed a sit-down version of it, but I feel like it was just kind of all over the place. So I'm gonna just talk like I'm talking to a friend and just share my birth experience, labor and delivery, all of that with Evelyn. I didn't do a video like this for Raina, and I think like just as time goes on you forget the details, so I just definitely want to document because it was a really cool, peaceful, amazing, empowering experience. I did have an unmedicated birth with Evelyn. With Raina, my firstborn, I had an epidural. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and just do my makeup here. My camera's set up like on the side, so if I'm not looking at the camera, sorry about that. I am bad at like talking and doing stuff, but I'm gonna try. So the day before she was born, I started losing my mucus plug, and the next morning I woke up at like, I stayed up till like 1 or 2, and I woke up around 5, and I just decided to get up, tidy up around the house, and yeah, just kill time. And I ended up calling my sister, FaceTiming with her, and we were just chatting for a little while. And around 8 o'clock is when I started to feel the first of the contractions. And it started off super light, super mild, basically just feeling like a tightening sensation in my lower belly, but there was also like a super dull cramping feeling accompanying it. So I hadn't had the cramping feeling before, like when I had Braxton Hicks, and so I was just thinking to myself, like, this could be the start of labor, because that's actually how labor with Raina started as well. It's just like contractions. So around like 9:15 and 9:30ish, I started timing them because they were still coming consistently, and I would say like they were like anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes apart. I just basically went about my day, and so anyways, my husband and daughter woke up and they got ready for the day as well. And my husband was getting ready to go to work. Actually, he came back from the gym. That's where he was. Came back from the gym, and he was about to get ready to go to work. And I told him, you know, I started having contractions this morning, but you know, it could be false labor, but it also could progress. And my husband's a barber, so he had like his day booked with clients already. But after just like going back and forth about it, we decided it would be best for him to stay. And I'm super glad that he did, because obviously things progressed and we ended up having baby later that night. But so he decided to stay home, and we just kind of chilled in the morning, just spent time with Raina, our firstborn, had a little bit of lunch together, and then around 12 o'clock, 1ish, Raina was gonna go down for her nap. So by that time I was kind of starting to get tired, because I had only gotten a few hours of sleep the night before, like I said. So so I decided to take a nap with Raina, because the contractions were still pretty mild, to the point where I could sleep through them, or at least like rest through them. So we all went down for a nap as a family, and I'm super thankful that I did, because I definitely needed that rest, or yeah, like that rest and that energy for later that evening. and I probably slept for like an hour or so. Got up, and then the contractions probably went from like a level 1 pain to maybe like a 3. So I could tell things were progressing, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely real labor. It's just kind of taking its time. So I just got ready and told my husband, you know, just pack your stuff for the hospital just in case. Not just in case, but like so that we're ready to go when it's time. And so that's what we did, is just kind of like got ready because we knew we'd be leaving to the hospital in a couple hours. And then it was like around 3 o'clock. I decided to call my midwife because, again, contractions were about 5 minutes apart. Pain level was like a 3, so I could still like talk through contractions, but I just wanted to call and give them a heads up. So she essentially told me, like, it sounds like you're still in early labor. You know, get something to eat, rest, and call me in like an hour or 2 if just to check in and, you know, if anything changes. So we just kind of chilled, and I told my husband, like, we should probably go get some food. And so he went and picked up some food for us. While he was out, I feel like the contraction started intensifying to like a 4, and I was definitely like having to concentrate and breathe through them. I could still talk and, you know, function normally, but I definitely had to like concentrate as the contractions are coming through. And I was beginning to like try out different laboring positions. And so I found that like being on my knees, propped up on the couch, and propping myself up like this with some pillows was really comfortable for me. And then I even grabbed some heating sacks or heating bags, I guess. It's basically like cloth bags full of rice. My mom made them for me. Just threw them in the microwave, and then they heat up and get really hot. And I was using that on my lower back because by then I was starting to kind of feel a little bit of back labor. I called my husband and I'm like, you need to hurry up because I think we're gonna be leaving. We're gonna need to go to the hospital like right after we eat when you get back. And so he's like, okay, I'm hurrying. And he got back, and we ate our food, spent some time with Raina. Like, we were all together this whole time, so we were like spending the whole pretty much day with her, like the first half. And then around like 5, my in-laws came and got her. We said our goodbyes, and we were basically out the door by 5:15. And our hospital is like 15 minutes away, so it wasn't too bad of a drive. I just didn't want to be sitting in the car having like super intense contractions. So I'm glad we left at the time that we did, because they were like uncomfortable, but they weren't like extremely painful. So we get to the hospital, we get checked in to triage and everything by like 5:45, close to 6. And then the midwife comes and like sees us, right? And it's not the midwife that I had been seeing throughout my pregnancy, but she was the one that was on call for the night, and she was actually super nice. And then there was actually a different midwife that delivered the baby, because they switched shift at like 7, I think, and baby came after that point. So it was like almost like 6 when we got there. And so the midwife that was on call there, she was super nice. She came in and saw us, and she did my cervical check. She asked if I wanted a cervical check, and I said yes. That was the first one that I had, because during my appointment, I didn't want my midwife to check me at that point. So because I was in labor, I was like, yes, go ahead and check, and just kind of so I can have an idea of where things are at. And I was 5 centimeters dilated, 70% effaced, and added a -2 for the, I think it's called like fetal station. So I'm like, okay, we're at a 5, I'm halfway there, we're definitely gonna stay. because it's my second labor. Hopefully things will progress quicker, or my second baby. So they were like, okay, great, we're gonna get you checked in. They started, they did the paperwork and everything, and just kind of like asked me a bunch of questions to get us checked in. And the other thing is that I gave birth at a hospital, but in the hospital they have like labor and delivery, and then across the hall they have two birthing rooms that are designated for those for mothers who basically want like a low intervention or no intervention birth. So if you don't want the epidural, or basically, yeah, if you don't want the epidural, there's another birthing area for you. So there's two of those rooms where it's like basically like a birthing center. So it's a little bit of a different experience, that's for sure. But anyways, we're in triage. I think contractions are starting to pick up by this time, probably anywhere from like 3 to 4 minutes apart now, and they definitely were probably at a pain level 6 now. And so I was definitely having to like stop and breathe through contractions. I didn't want to talk during contractions. Once we figured out that we were going to stay and they were getting the room ready and it was just my husband and I in the triage room, I was having him start the counter pressure on my hips and just like basically squeeze my hips in and up, and that just kind of like relieved some of the pressure that I was feeling on my back and counteracted the pain that I was feeling from the contractions as well. One thing that I want to say too is, like, while we were in triage, they asked if I wanted to get an IV put into my arm, and they said, you know, you're not going to be hooked up to anything. We will monitor baby like with the Doppler intermediately, so you don't need to be hooked up to any machines. We just want to put the IV in your arm if you consent to it, in case after labor like you lose a lot of blood or you hemorrhage or something, we can intervene basically. And I didn't think much of it. I was like, yeah, that should be fine. You know, I didn't want it to be a hassle later if anything happened. So I said yes to getting the IV, which was probably my biggest regret, and I'll tell you guys why in a little bit. But so I got the IV in, I was laboring in triage, and then they come back and they say, okay, the room's ready. And by the time we got into the room, it was like 7 o'clock. We got into the labor and delivery room, and like I said, I just did like a quick assessment of the room. There was a queen bed in the middle. They had like a birthing ball in there too. It was like gigantic. So I didn't use that at all. They had like this bean bag that was on the bed with some pillows, and then the birthing tub was in the corner. So immediately the midwife was like, do you want me to go ahead and start the water for the tub just in case you want to get in? And I told her yes. So while that was filling up, I just kind of walked around the room a little bit. But again, I found that, one second, baby's crying. Okay, I just decided to grab her because she just wants to be held, which is fine. Finished off my makeup. But I think I was talking about, okay, so we got into the room, and while the tub was filling up, I kind of walked around the room and just like try to sway through contractions and everything. So I try to do like a lot of research before labor and delivery to kind of figure out different ways to cope with the pain or the intensity of contractions. And so like I brought some combs. I had tried those in the triage room because people say, like, you know, if you're holding the combs in your hand, that can like be a distraction from the pain or help you, I don't know, cope with it. Didn't work for me, so I kind of ditched those early on. So I just basically tried a couple different things because the pain level was still at like a 6, and so I was like, you know, I need to find a way to kind of manage, like try a couple different things to see like what would help me to manage the pain up until like active labor or like pushing basically. And so yeah, I was just kind of trying different things, and you just don't know what's gonna work for you in that moment. So I remember my midwife telling me, like, you know, there's a birthing tub there, there's the birthing ball, we have like different things that you can use. And she's like, just don't get yourself set on doing something like using a certain tool or mechanism, because while you're actually in labor, like you might not want to do it. So she was like, just be flexible and be open to trying different things, and like just follow what you feel like your body needs in that moment. So that's kind of the mindset that I went in with, just being open. Like even though they were filling the bathtub, I had never birthed or even labored in the water before. I really did find like that being on my knees and with my arms propped up was like kind of the best position, because I was doing that on the bed in the labor room, and I was even doing that once I got into the bathtub. What you want, baby? So I was on the bed for a while the tub was being filled up, and by then, like, I was just kind of like doing a low groan through the contractions, like as I was exhaling. I found that to be super helpful too. So yeah, like after about like 30 minutes, 45 minutes or so, the tub looked like it was pretty full. So you know, my husband and I were the only ones in there, so I decided to get into the birthing tub. And by that, like once I was in, like there was a couple nurses coming in and out to just check on things, and the midwife came back in. She came and introduced the new midwife that was taking over the on-call shift for the night, and so that was really nice for her to do. And I just labored in the tub. I still like was in the position of being on my knees with my arms propped up on the rim of the tub during contractions, and my husband was still doing counter pressure even when I was in the water for a little while. And then once the contractions passed, I just kind of sat in the tub and tried to relax. After like 30 or 45 minutes of being in the tub, I started to get really hot, and I had my husband get some towels and like run them under cold water so that I could place it on my head and like on my shoulders and stuff. But again, like I had already like gotten to that point where I felt like a little bit overheated, and once it kind of cooled down a little bit, I got back into the water probably like after like 10-15 minutes of just being out. I just realized like it felt a lot more manageable being in the water during contractions. So I got back in after like 10 or 15 minutes, and that was probably like around 8:30 or so, I would say. Maybe like, yeah, like 8:30. Everything kind of happened fast once we got into the room. But yeah, I got back in, and by then the contractions were like pretty intense. I was groaning through them, didn't really care about what was going on around me. I could hear like the nurse and midwife talking in the background, but I wasn't really paying attention. I was just focusing on the contractions, and they were probably like 2 minutes apart by then, like 1 to 2 minutes apart by then. And I also had him stop doing the counter pressure because it was like more bothersome than it was helpful at that point. The only thing that was helping me was just like groaning through them at that point. And so the midwife just kind of hung around in that last hour before the baby was born, and she would come and monitor or check the baby's heart rate like every now and then with the Doppler. And this is where the IV got super annoying, because they didn't want me to get it wet, but obviously I was laboring in the water, so that was hard not to do. And the tape kept on coming off. Like it came off like 2 times. They had to retape it. And then like while I was in active labor, like groaning and just uncomfortable and everything, they were like, you know, we need to put something on it so that water doesn't get on it. And so they like made shift like a waterproof like cover for it, and they just used a trash bag and like wrapped it around my arm and taped it up, the midwife and the nurse. But by that point I was like, oh, I wish I had never consented to having the IV, then I wouldn't be experiencing this nuisance right now. Yeah, things just started to get more and more intense and like painful, and I said out loud, like, my back is killing me. Like at that point I felt a lot of pressure in my lower back, and the midwife was like, that's your baby's head, you know, you're getting so close, just, you know, you got this, kind of like encouraging me. And so I was just really uncomfortable, like trying to find a position in the tub that felt right. But yeah, by then I was like on all fours, on my knees and hands during contractions, and I think like my body was just getting ready to like have the baby. And the midwife was like, you know, your water still hasn't broken, but if you want to like reach down there and feel, I bet you could feel the bag of water. And so I did that, and I put my hand down there and I did feel the bag of water. And so that kind of motivated me, like, oh my gosh, we're so close, like I'm so close to the finish line. And so during the next contraction, like I kind of like pushed, and then the bag of water like broke. And I was like, I felt a pop, and they came over to like look in the water to see, and she's like, yep, your bag of water just broke. And then like immediately after that I was like, she's like, the baby's coming. Like I could feel her head like just descending because that bag of water was gone, or had popped. And so I'm like, she's coming, and they're like, okay. And so with the next couple contractions, I don't even know how many, like I just started feeling that pushing sensation, and she started crowning. But I think like her head, it took a while for her head to actually like come fully out, and then once her head actually came out, you know, one more push and her body came out. And you know, she like came out under the water. I was on all fours, and then they grabbed her, and I kind of like turned and sat, and then they put her on my chest like that. She was 7 pounds 14 ounces and 19.5 inches long. Perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. And yeah, that's the story of how this little one was born. She's such a sweet little baby, and it's time for Raina to wake up. So I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you for watching if you did, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.